Hi folks, this is Nigel at Spiritual Awareness New Zealand, and what is it, the 11th of December today? Something like that. uh, and I want to go over the yellow vest protests, and I have been looking at this, and you know, people have said I rant about things and rant and go on about things, and sure I do, but I'm trying to get to a kind of get to the bottom of this, and I am convinced that it's a false flag operation. 100%, absolutely. Um, and I was thinking it was Soros because, and not wrongly so, because Soros had in 2016 uh, earmarked $500 million to help migrants in Europe. And even up to that point, he had been investing quite a bit in low-income migrants. However, and I thought, well, maybe he's playing both sides of the game, and because these guys like Soros do that. They definitely do play both sides of a game to get their money, their financial advantage, and so forth. So I was looking at him, and then I came up against, I came across the name Steve Bannon, who worked. He was I think, the owner, the creator of Breitbart News, um, and I may not be saying that correctly, and then he worked for the Trump administration for 7 months until he was ousted. However, I am not the only one who believes that ousting was a ruse, a fake, if you like, and um, I want to show you some stuff. So let me go back here. So he worked for Breitbart. He then worked for Trump for 7 months, was ousted, and went back to Breitbart Media. And in March of this year, 2018, he went to France and met Marine Le Pen, who is the leader of the French Nationalist Party. And they are an anti-migrant party, if you like. They have anti-migrant kind of views. And it suddenly dawned on me that this was not Soros but Steve Bannon, and it started making a lot more sense. And what I see is that Steve Bannon is still very much part of the Trump administration, although he's distanced from it. He distanced from it and left as a matter of convenience, no matter what was said in the media about why he left or whatever. But that was actually a positioning move. It was a strategy, and I would expect that he is a CIA agent. I haven't even looked into any Israeli connections with that name. That's an interesting thing too, because I think that, if the CIA are into this, no doubt the IDF, Israeli Defence Force, are probably not far behind, and will probably right in there with them. Now, this has the earmarks of CIA false flag operation, if you like, and the general strategy with them is to create a popular sort of people uprising and so they have these protests and so forth. And then they get snipers to, if there isn't enough damage done, they get snipers to actually, get some blood running, if you like, on the streets. And and then if all of that fails, what they do then is blame the harm on the government and call it a cruel dictatorship or this kind of thing, and use that as an excuse to move the troops in to invade and to free the country of the terrible dictator, and so forth. You've seen it in the Arab Springs, the Ukraine revolt, if you like, the Ukraine coup, which was purported to be Russian in the media, a Russian caused thing, but it wasn't. It was again an American CIA thing. Victoria Nuland, who was the American Foreign Secretary of State at the time, she was in and out of Ukraine and admitted that the US had, this is on video, you can see it on YouTube, just Google Victoria Nuland or put it on YouTube and you'll get her explaining that the US had invested $5 billion into Ukraine prior to the Ukraine coup. And then there was a leaked conversation between Victoria Nuland and, who is it, Jeffrey, what's his name, Pryor or whatever, where they are planning on the coup leaders and the takeover leaders, and so that it's the famous one where Victoria Nuland says, "Fuck the EU." Okay, now note that, fuck the EU. Now, coming forward, so that Ukrainian coup had snipers on the roof, and if you look at this, snipers. This is a bit of video of snipers in Paris at the Yellow Vest protests. Now, I believe that they shot one person at least on the 2nd of December. Anyway, they're certainly they have been videoed as being present there, which fits in with this whole thing, this whole CIA, IDF, and Trump agenda. Now, Trump is very against the UN, so there we go. There, you see. So Trump is very against the UN. So it would this whole protest plays into his strategy, if you like, to be out of the UN and so forth. And again, I'm only looking at this and trying to put this together, and so this is a work in progress. Now, I did find this, which comes from 2017, Tom Luongo, August 19th, 2017, and because I when I looked at the Steve Bannon, I started getting interested. So I looked for any connection to CIA, and I got this Steve Bannon, secret agent man, and this guy here, Tom, is suspicious of Steve leaving Trump's administration and going back to Breitbart News, and he is saying at the time that he suspects that he's a secret agent. My dog is even agreeing and complaining with this whole thing. Okay, so and this is another one of his articles. See, Tom, same guy, and he's talking about this. At the time, it was to do with Julian Assange, and I'm not going to go into this whole thing. You can kind of check this out. I've put the links up, but and here we go. Ukrainian protests, videos, snipers shooting at and they shot something like 4 police and 20 protesters, and there was more. There's a whole thing about it here. Who killed the Kiev protesters? Well, this article by New York Times, and they're putting it onto Russia, but it was bullshit. This was done by the US. The Ukrainian one was done by the US, and then you go to Libya and how they took out Libya. They said cruel dictator and invaded, and they were putting absolute lies about the Libyan people were against their leader, and actually they weren't. They're very, very pro Gaddafi. Syria was the same. They did the chemical weapons attack by the White Hats, which were actually funded by IDF Israel and US and so forth. The US was dropping arms to these guys and so forth. So understand that these guys will, when it comes to false flags, they'll do anything to achieve their ends, if you like. So this is what I'm looking at, and it makes a lot of sense at the moment. I might change again on this, but it makes more sense than the Soros thing. And what I'm trying to make people realise here is this isn't a popular people's uprising. Sure, the French people have been pissed off with rising fuel taxes. Hey, we've had that here in New Zealand too. Does that mean it's sensible to actually go and do a violent protest? No, it isn't. It's absolutely nuts. And in my viewpoint, I don't agree with it at all. You can have a different viewpoint, and please leave my pages. I don't want anything to do with anyone who wants to support violence and change. There are plenty of solutions that don't include violence. I don't know about you, but I've been killed enough times. I've fought enough times and died enough times in the past to not want to go that route again. It's not a very pleasant route to get into all of that violence and war and so forth. And it just doesn't. We're made for bigger things than that. As spiritual beings, we're made for bigger things. All I want to do with this is expose the perpetrators, and if these guys are so heroic, why don't they come out and be open? And one thing that you will not be able to tell me is, if you disagree with what I'm saying, I'm damn sure that you will not be able to give me the names of the organisers of the protest, because you won't find them. Why? Because it's a false flag operation and they're hiding. So I can tell you the names. Steve Bannon meeting Marine Le Pen, and of course the French Nationalist Party stand to gain tremendously if Macron is thrown out of government, because they will be the ones who will take over. And it will be very convenient for Trump if that happened, because then he could kick the UN's ass, if you like. He's out to get them, and I believe Steve Bannon is still Trump's man, whether he's part of the CIA, probably part of IDF or whatever, I don't know. I'm giving you what I can. That is about all I've got for the moment. I'm following this with interest. That's it from me, Nigel, at Spiritual Awareness New Zealand. Thanks for listening.